having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
So we're back. Can you believe it? We're back already. This is like the first time I've ever done this. This is episode 98, 98.75. You're watching 98.75 AM. Soon to be moved to FM. So I have Jason back on, and he's charged up and ready to go. Welcome back.
Thank you very, very much, Paul. I'm sorry about the technical difficulty last time.
That's okay. That's okay. I got like unlimited time until Sunday, so we can do this as many times as it takes to get the message across. Now, we touched on the forest fires. Now, I've seen a lot of research. Someone followed the plane, talked to the pilot, and it seems to me they're contracted out. The spraying that's happening everywhere. It's like all over the world. So they've got the NDA, the non-disclosure, the contractors. So this is a way the military can do things, have plausible deniability. No one can tell on them because there are repercussions, and they do that with people like Kirk Reese too. Get them to sign NDAs and keep their mouth shut. And that's how criminals do the business. So now we know that we're dealing with criminals. How do we do something about it when they're using direct energy weapons to start forest fires?
Well, Paul, may I say something now?
Yep, all yours.
Thank you. Thanks. No, to your point, I think it's important to understand. I know this from the aerospace companies, and I might have a defense contractor friend. I'm a UFO expert, as I like to think. But the reason I bring this up, Paul, and it would be similar in certain projects, I don't know for sure, but with the secrecy with the chemicals that you're talking about and directed weaponry, I would think it'd be very similar where some of these projects, it's so compartmentalized. You have what they call special access projects, which is a regular term many people have heard over and over again. But what you don't hear normally is unacknowledged special access projects, where if you even divulge the existence of the program that you're working on or what have you, you will be jailed 30 years or killed. And that is also part of how they keep that secrecy. And as you say, obviously the NDA, non-disclosure. It's the same thing with the oceans, where UFOs are and other mining missions underneath the oceans. They get these people to sign NDAs, off the Cuban coast, the hot zone, etc. So absolutely. I don't know about directed energy, but it very well may have happened in Hawaii. There's a lot of different theories, but I guess Kirk laid it out too, as you know, Paul. Either way, they're spraying chemicals, which apparently can light a fire like this, that kind of technology too. I mean, unreal. It's absolute evil, too.
It seems so because Quebec isn't spraying glyphosate, and there's no fires going on there. So it seems like the fires are only happening where they're spraying glyphosate. I mean, I have a
That's interesting.
Here. It is. Also, I think Canadians would probably, I hate to say this, probably be wise to become Sikhs. Because Sikhs can protect themselves in Canada. This is their sword. They call it ceremonial, so they're allowed to have it. The courts throw it out if they're if the police try to arrest them. So let's become Sikhs.
I know you're being facetious. Yeah,
I am, but I'm also showing that we're being betrayed by those that are supposed to represent us. These are things that fathers and mothers would never do to their own children. They would never put, sprinkle glyphosate on their children's cereal in the morning. It's and if they did, they would probably go to jail for harm. So this is we know it's harm. We know what they're spraying. They admit they're spraying. No one's going to jail. We have a complete broken system, don't we?
Well, Paul, to your point, whoever, as Catherine Austin Fitz says, whoever is spraying, and I would add over all these sovereign nations, has real power. And
Yes.
obviously, there's some evil, what do you call it, agendas out there. Maybe they think, but hopefully, maybe even some of these groups think they're doing a good thing. Who knows? They may have been read into total lies, saying, you spray, we're protecting you from the ozone or some goddamn thing. We don't know, but we do know. Yeah, we do know, as you say, the glyphosate. My friend Dr. Shiva, Paul, who I'm hoping to interview one day, the great Dr. Shiva, biological systems engineer, scientist, PhD from MIT, 4 degrees, invented the email system at 14 years old, ran for president in the United States as an independent, trying to start a global bottoms-up movement that he calls for truth, freedom, and health, Paul. And he tries to fight for Canadians, too. And he wants me to be one of his leaders, but I can't afford to go on his platform. I need some help, folks. But anyway, he talks about the forest fires, and he's done videos, in scientific papers, of course, on the glyphosate around the seas. And he tried to get interviewed by the likes of Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo told Joe Rogan, so Joe Rogan knows who Dr. Shiva is. They follow him, but Rogan wouldn't have him on. And he was having some fraudulent, scientist on at the time. So it's always about telling the truth at the right time. Right, Paul? Before I forget it in this live, one of the most important things I think we need to learn, and Dr. Shiva talks about it, and he learned this, anybody can tell the truth. Any wacko, grifter, anybody can tell the truth. It's about telling the truth at the right time to the right people, to try to mobilize change. And Joe Rogan, he was what, anti-vax or no? Yeah, he was anti-vax before COVID or at the beginning. Then he waits, sees the wind blow where the wind blows and goes pro-vax, right? When you get to that level, on a podcaster, unfortunately, they seem to sell out. He's an interesting guy. I like his UFC commentating. Why am I bringing up Joe Rogan? I don't know. But yeah, we got to talk about the forest fires, this emergency here in Canada at some point extensively during the live, if you want, Paul. And I know you got a lot of thoughts on it too.
Yeah, just go with it. Go with it. I'm all ears.
Okay. Well, you played the first statement from Carbon Tax Carney. And first of all, and in the first live, I thought it was a good question. You said, I think you asked, do you believe, Carbon Tax Carney here, what he said? What's your thoughts? So, and I said, well, I think, for a change, I actually believe him. We're not going to sell out Canada. Of course, Canada's not going to become that's all a psyop, the 51st state. If anything, hopefully it's helping more of us Canadians just be that much vigilant, especially as truthers, to fight for Canada, to make it powerful. We don't have to get caught in the trap of the fear porn, right? That's what the elites are doing, probably trying to put out this 51st state distraction nonsense. And the forest fires, Paul, the government is profiting from the forest fires, unfortunately. Dr. Shiva said it back in 2015. He, again, seeing what's happening in Canada, Paul, with our forest fires. And he said, basically, that they want the naive people, and I think he's right, to pay the carbon tax. Remember, that was on consumers at the time, still on, is it on industries, I believe, right? So they want you to pay the carbon tax and think, oh, yes, I'm saving the environment because, Justin Trudeau and the cabinet, they keep saying it's global climate change. They don't want to say hardly ever that it's arsonists or lightning. And we know, a guy on TikTok, Paul, showed a chart, 99% of the fires is arsonists. And who's paying the arsonists? Are arsonists getting paid by the elements of our government or shadow government? Absolutely, I would say. It's hard to prove, but I mean, just look at it. And there's been no improvement. Worse forest fires this year. I know it's been hot, but it's poor forestry management. And in Jasper that you brought up earlier, Paul, on the other conversation that we had, I think you brought up, Jasper, yeah, I mean, it's not a coincidence, I don't believe. Randy Wassenaw, who I was getting into, remember, Paul, in our conversation before I got cut off? The guy who claims he's native, and had to resign. He's a complete clown, this liberal. He's in charge of the buildup of the infrastructure apparently in Jasper. He's going to make a shitload. Like, what the hell's going on here? We got to put pressure on these clowns, and that's why I'm glad we're doing this video today, Paul, because we could change their behavior. You just got to have the resistance, as you know.
It's hard because people have to face that they've been lied generationally. That means even though their grandparents are honest people, they may inadvertently lie to them because they've been lied to, because they had the blind faith that they have been programmed to have. Because we didn't have locks on our cars and our houses. We didn't need them. We didn't have before 1974. We didn't need housing and food banks. We had none of that.
Wow.
We had a functional society before 1974, and that was Pierre Elliott Trudeau that changed the Bank of Canada and started the compound interest and fiat currency and basically sold us out. So he was our first big act of treason, and Trudeau, and Carney are just finishing off the job, bringing in an army of people that do not think like us. They don't bring love and peace and joy, and they're being financed. They're getting a lot of money, like $14,000 more than someone who has a job in Canada, and they don't have to work.
Wow.
So they're getting that much more than an average Canadian with a job, and they're getting that without a job. So this is an army. This is like our Al-Qaeda here now. So when they're going to be activated, I don't know, but Canadians generally will be like deer in the headlight. They will not see it coming. And they're already, they're already being made powerless. This man trying to protect his home is being, home invaded by 3 people, one with a bow, to kill moose and and deer, and he stabbed the guy and got arrested. So the family has no more protection in that house, and he's charged. He was outnumbered with 3 people. The police don't mention that he had a bow, and they're like complicit. In my last video that you were in, I talked about being assaulted by like 6 police officers for no reason. So we've got a big problem with the police force. They have a monopoly on violence. We're not allowed to protect our.
But
own
there's good news.
Anymore. I hope so. Please share.
But there is good news. I'm sorry, Paul. There is good news. There is good news on what you said, though, Paul, the opposite. And you know what that is? There was a big win here in Canada that wasn't celebrated, Paul, and I'm sorry what happened to you, buddy. I always say in my speeches, you don't want to, in my opinion, we shouldn't be generalizing. I say we shouldn't generalize that all of our police are bad. All of our RCMP are bad, and they're going to override our rights. You see what's happening here? Even to Paul, unfortunately. But don't generalize that most of them don't want to do a good job because they want to protect their families. They want to protect us, right? There's only a small amount of taxpayers' money that we give to do their jobs, and hopefully correctly most of the time. Black Lives Matter, I wanted to defund the police. George Soros' global, financial empire and his little shenanigans. So that's what I have to say on that. And the big win, Paul, in Canada, I want people never to forget this in Canada. I learned this from Jane Scarf, our amazing activist that lives in Ottawa, Paul. Hopefully you know her. If you don't, I'll give you her information. Listen to this, my friends, and you can look this up yourselves. I believe it was 43 out of 44 police departments that basically said, fuck you, Doug Ford. We're not going to go along with the stay-at-home order here in Ontario. We're not going to restrict people's mobility rights. And we're certainly not going to take away your guns either. And that story should have been celebrated. I believe Paul would concur. And Rebel News, our amazing alternative media with Ezra Levant, right? I'm being facetious. I think in my opinion, he's a Zionist cocksucker, Dr. Shiva would probably say. These guys are communist sympathizers because what did Rebel News do? Not only do they pump up the communist-friendly charter all the time, Zippo on the Canadian Bill of Rights, which we can get into later, But Ezra Levant Rebel News, Paul, they said something like, Jane read the post. It said something like, well, we'll see how that goes. And then they show a video of isolated incidents, again, of cops overriding people's rights and pictures. So that's a communist-friendly message. It's not accurate. And he should have celebrated, and other news articles, should have celebrated that win here in Canada. Your police department showed they're behind you. They're not going to go along with this absolute tyranny of new laws, restricting, again, people's mobility rights or taking your guns. And we can't just sit back. I'm not saying sit back and just, do nothing. But they're behind us, folks, in general. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I did mention that. I mentioned my story, but I also mentioned that there are good people in all the departments, and I spoke directly to them. I said, I understand you risk losing your job, being destroyed. I know that doing the right thing can have severe consequences, and I have like 100 shows that prove that from people that have had their lives taken from them, or their children, or their jobs, for trying to do the right thing. Just like the man who went to jail trying to protect his family. This is not acceptable. We need castle laws back. We need to be able to protect our homes, and no less than that. And parents must have a say on education. Excluding parental rights is a sin against humanity. People aren't perfect, but they do have, their traditions and their values that they bring to, they share with their children, and these rights are being removed, and they're trying to make the children turn against the parents because the school will let the little boys wear dresses in school secretly behind their parents' back, and they'll let them have maid without parental knowledge, or they'll let them transition without parental consent. And everyone in Parliament, all 338, voted for this. So we have absolutely nobody willing to stand up for parental rights in our federal government. So we've been compromised. We understand that. There is nobody there for us. Even though they all are wordsmiths, they all know how to speak and convince, and they know how to use words to make you feel like you're being represented. But when they vote, that's what matters. When they all voted against parental rights, they all showed us that we have nobody there. And it's sad for
Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Paul, because I guess I didn't pay that much attention to what really transpired in terms of parental rights and as you say, the government, the politicians, what they voted on. Unreal.
Yeah, the children can transition secretly. The school will facilitate that transition without informing the parents about it. And then the government will offer maid when they're as young as 12 years old to end their lives if it's too much for them. And it will be. Most generally, it is genocide. It is an evil, godless form of depopulation. It's not like Canadians I know. I don't know anyone that evil. Even the worst person I know isn't that bad. That would never wish that. I would never wish that upon my enemy. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a nicer guy or something, but even Ontario, everybody voted for Bill 67, which was critical race theory. It's basically fundamentally a war against white Christians. It really is. All the kids, black, white, green, red, orange, all the kids are being taught that the white people are a problem. So this is, again, against the European culture that's here, which I have no problem with. I don't have any problem with the Irish and the French and the, I like that mix. I like Europeans are very compatible with us. I think it's the Sharia law countries that aren't compatible. They're bringing people that are at war with each other, like Pakistan and India are like at the brink of war, and they're bringing both of them in here. So they're bringing in a war that already exists, endangering our lives and not allowing us to protect our own homes. they're spoiling these people by funding them. So, they could be activated just by pulling their funding. That $3,000 a month is just gone now. So they're going to come and get it. They're going to, and a lot of these people may have lost families in wars that we had no idea that they were false flag wars.
Right.
That we would have never supported. And it's not, they may blame us in our, how they would view us maybe as smug, decadent, because we have good people in this country and, that like to dress up. And I mean, it's not arrogance. It's just, self-respect. But they would see us as, living a good life. Meanwhile, their homes are destroyed, and like in Gaza, if someone from Gaza would come here and say, you didn't stop this. So they have a right to their feelings against us. I can understand the pain of, losing your whole family or losing your wife and your children. So these people are being brought here possibly just to trigger some kind of civil upheaval. And that Canadians...
Yes, I think you're right, Paul. I think you're right. And they call them asylum seekers, right?
Yeah.
So again, many of them are great people, but I think there was a YouTuber, he's a real estate agent, Paul, on YouTube. I forget his channel. I apologize. Nice guy. God, I can't remember. Anyway, I think he gave the figure. If they get 20 or 20,000, 10 or 20,000 of asylum seekers in a place like New Brunswick, it's toast. It is done. And I think he means I'm sure he's inferring like the family fabric, what they're used to, the lifestyles in general in New Brunswick, and just too many of these asylum seekers. It's going to be upheaval. I mean, and confusion and anger in New Brunswick, and it doesn't need to happen. But this seems to be the agenda, right? That's taking place.
Yes.
And the immigrants, as you sort of allude to, I think many times they don't have a better quality of life necessarily. Some are living, 8 or 10? We hear the stories in one room. I mean, enough is enough. But again, Paul, it goes back to the Century Heritage Initiative. 12 billionaires or so on the board, changing faces at times, different people, but generally the same ones. A woman on the board owns one of the biggest telecommunication IT companies in the world. And one day we should mention the names and show the faces, Paul, I think, because it's really interesting. And I'll give you an example why it's so crucial. Northern Perspective on YouTube, they were the first ones to do this, okay? They got a huge YouTube channel, right? The most subscribers of any political channel on YouTube. Again, I said before, Paul, I think you should be a guest on there. Reach out to them one day if you want. I'd love to join them too. But anyway.
I've already got hundreds of thousands of viewers.
All right. See, there you go. You don't even need Northern Perspective. But Paul, what they said, they showed a chart. The Century Heritage Initiative a few years ago, they lobbied twice with the Conservatives. They lobbied once with the Liberals when Justine Trudeau was in power. And Justine gave them everything they wanted. Immigration skyrocketed. They gave them everything they wanted and more in terms of the numbers of immigrants. So it's got to go back to this Century Heritage Initiative, a small group that knows that small other groups within their companies, the lumbering companies, some of them, etc., they're going to make a shitload of money from, unfortunately, millions of acres that has to be burned down, apparently, to bring in this 100, because they want 100 million people in Canada at the end of the century, Paul, 75 years.
Yeah.
So how do you get there, as I always say? You need massive infrastructure. Is that what we're looking at with these fires? I think that's part of the agenda. It sure as hell seems like it to me. And believe me, folks, these billionaires do not care about our forests, our animals, or our people, our natives, you and I. They don't give a shit. It's all, in my opinion, it's all about the money. And let's keep an eye on these 12 people on the board. I'm sure some of them are good people in their own way, but we got to be very careful. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
Jason Truth, 8036.
Yes.
Just want to show you where it is. I am also going to
All right.
leave the link in the comments so you can find him, listen to his speeches.
Just Jason Truth.
Jason Truth.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but yeah.
Yeah, I was honored to be a public speaker, Paul. And I'm honored to be on your platform as as you're in your own way being a speaker as well for the truth on your amazing platform. And, you know, I had people, Paul, not everyone wants to be a public speaker. I get it. And I never knew I would do this during COVID, but I took the leap, you know, on stage the first time, and I was nervous as hell. And apparently my speeches got more refined, you know, like anything, you get better. You're amazing at what you do, Paul. And some people would say, Jason, speeches don't matter. They don't give a shit. They don't. Bullshit. They listen. And I talked to a ex-military guy. Again, I might have a defense contractor friend. And he said, Jason, you know, they walk. He was a veteran, amazing veteran military guy, European. And he said that, Jason, the intelligence communities, they watch reactions of the crowd, right, of a speaker to see, is the message resonating? So when people say speeches don't matter and what we're doing today doesn't matter, oh, it does matter, right? And that's why there's a lot of censorship. And that's why I had government agents eventually trying to distract me in my speeches, but I knew it would happen. So,
well, the thing about the military contractors and the military people is it's very much compartmentalized. And that goes to the same thing in the U.S. where they have the continuity of government, where it protects itself like a porcupine, but it only gets these people only get this much information that they need, and they all believe that they're doing the right thing for the future of mankind. Everyone thought Trump would bring peace, but Trump bombed Yemen. He's surrounding Venezuela now. So he is just continuing. He's like a false messiah. And they're just feeding his ego. I know that because he just says, God saved me. I am the Mr. COVID. He boasted being part of it. But he biblically fits in the little horn. The little horn's like cornet or trumpet.
Yes.
So he fits Daniel's little horn, the lie, sin, the son of perdition. So, I mean, we're there, I think. And thank God it means it's going to end. It is going to get worse, but then it's going to end. And when it ends, all this evil is just going to leave. And then we will be able to have our renaissance that was really intended for us. But I think, also God sends a delusion upon us. That's a part of it. God allows this delusion because of all the transgressions, all the children being murdered, and all the abortions. So this delusion, the Trump delusion, is a part of it. So there is still a way to escape, and that is just, just forget about different religions. Just forget about them, because they're all teaching you to pray wrong. They're teaching you to pray to Muhammad and teaching you to invoke Jesus and Mary and Joseph. And that's just not getting to where you want it to get to. You pray like inside, in the closet, in the dark. Say, thank you, God, and just thank God for your day, your friends, your knowledge, and for having love and loving. And even if it's an animal, they teach us unconditional love. And so we have to just reach in deep inside of that and forgive ourselves first. And then we can start forgiving our enemy. And then you're empowered. Then you have the full armor. Because we have to forgive our enemy. We don't have to love them, but we should. Because I love Justin Trudeau.
Yes.
Even though I know he
I know you
worked
do.
on the wrong side of history, he was meant to. He's part of the delusion being allowed right now. But all this knowledge that we're going to share is coming from love. It's not coming from financing. We're not getting funded by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation here.
No. Hey, Paul, I thank you for everything you just said. That's very powerful and very true, very spiritual. But I wanted to ask you, where did you learn about continuity of government? Because that is one of the most important facets, I think, subjects right now of our times, is understanding continuity of government. I'd like to explain a little bit, and I just want to know first, Paul, if I may ask, where did you learn about that?
Well, I've seen it in movies, where it was the end of the world, and they had these submarines or something that went underwater or something to save the world. They could only save so many people, and the
Yeah,
continuity of government clicked in, and so they only saved so many people. There was a limited
that's
amount
right.
of people, and they had to basically pick straws, sort of thing. So it was a movie
Well,
that gave me that information, but then I realized that it's actually
thank
real.
you. Well, thank you for that answer, Paul, because to my knowledge, the only one that really talks about it, at least on YouTube, let alone probably other platforms in great detail, I got to give him credit. Daniel Litz from Dark Journalist on YouTube. Okay. And he covers many of the subjects that I cover, which is UFOs, the black budget technology, the military industrial complex, at times CIA, all that. He comes from corporate media. But continuity government, he learned this from Peter Dale Scott. Folks, you can get his book. It's called Deep State, one of his many books. Peter Dale Scott. He's like 90 years old or 91 now. He's a Berkeley professor. And he was the first one to really dive into what is continuity government? How does it work? We can soon I'll relate how does it work here in Canada? Obviously, the United States as well. It was put into after World War I or World War II in case of a nuclear war, right? Where the government collects itself, sort of Paul was alluding to it in the movie sort of that he saw, I think, where you have a catastrophe, the world underground, particularly military underground bases that we have nowadays, right? And for decades, the government organizes itself. So continuity government, where have we seen it play out? Well, look at 9/11, right? We saw continuity government. Dick Cheney used continuity government, particularly him and also George W. Bush, in their underground bunkers, trying to get things organized. You had Watergate, right? Dark Journalist named some of the people involved in continuity of government there. You had there are some other false flags that they use continuity government. So any major event that changes policy, Peter Dale Scott talks about in his book, and I have yet to get his book, by the way, but any major event that changes policy generally, especially nowadays, you got continuity government. And Paul, they never used to talk about continuity government. I want to tell the audience. But now, all of a sudden, the last, 5 years or so, now they put it right in front of your face. They talk about continuity government. So it's even more organized and powerful than ever before. And as Paul knows, it's emergency powers. It's what we saw here in Canada and the United States, right? The trucker movement. Justin Trudeau uses emergency powers. That is continuity government, folks. And that is operated by, it's a very complex system, but the CIA, right? Particularly in the United States. We have our own elements of that in Canada. I won't get into in great detail, but the intelligence agencies, right? And it's a group of very powerful people and part of the military industrial complex, obviously. And we should understand continuity of government, in my opinion. I'm glad Paul has brought that up. And the next false flag, believe it or not, is UFOs. There's a UFO threat coming, obviously climate change. But we don't have to get into UFOs. Obviously, it depends with Paul, but that's a very important subject that I study a lot. So, and we have it here in Canada. So,
yeah, I see it as a military program. I don't believe there's space. I believe there's a dome.
Really?
There's water on the other side of the dome. The rainbow basically shows you the shape of the dome when it's like a reflection of the dome when you see the rainbow. And I can almost smell false flags. Look there's no blood spatter behind the ear, on the hair, nothing.
No. Yeah, that was fake.
But he was a part of it.
Absolutely.
He knew about it. He was a part of it. And what does
Yes.
he say? God saved me. So he's invoking God. God did this. So he really got this savior. This is scary. And now he's going after Venezuela. He will do whatever the Zionists want. I'm assuming they gave him his power. His building is an invocation, a spiritual invocation, a spell. There's trees on the side of his building that makes a 666. If you can believe
really?
It really,
wow.
It does. I mean, his son...
Huh.
His son, Ivanka, she married the guy who owned 666. That's her husband's
Interesting.
building. So I mean, it was
Interesting.
all right before our eyes. Yeah, my research goes so deep, deep, deep because I just care, and I basically asked God, I want the truth. I want the truth. I prayed for the truth, and it's been very difficult. The truth makes you feel very lonely. But through their policy in Canada of diversity, inclusion, this is how they're installing Sharia law. This is our new
Ah,
health minister, who's Islamic, who is radical, and
wow.
so the diversity plan is just a Trojan horse. And in the end, they've supported Sharia law all along. In Iran, 1953, when they overthrew the government, they installed Sharia law. And even in Ukraine, they were attacking their own people. They were saying this in 2014. I remember people saying it's our own government that's attacking us. Russian troops are saving us. So Russia came
Yeah.
in to save the people because they forbid Russian-friendly people, Russian-friendly stations, Russian-friendly politicians were executed, murdered.
Yes.
So it was anti-Russian that Obama installed with Biden, with Zelensky. So that's what that was all about, creating another fake war. But they were killing their own people.
Paul, to your point, excuse me, this is very important. They create fake wars, and I learned this from Dr. Shiva. They always need a crisis. United States, it's a great country in a lot of ways, but they need a crisis. Why? To maintain that U.S. reserve currency, don't they? And aircraft carriers. And that's what it's about. And in Gaza, $2.3 trillion oceanfront property. And they will do anything they can, some of these global financial predators, to get a land grab, and that means committing genocide. And we saw it. Dr. Shiva's talked about it, and we saw that, and it's a goddamn shame. It really, it's evil, it's tragic, and I stand behind a lot of those Palestinians and what they've gone through. And most Jewish people are amazing people. We're talking the elites, some elites, some global financial predators.
Yeah, before Israel was created, everyone got along. Jews, Arabs, they all lived together in harmony. Now this is Trump's building, the Trump Tower, and he's got 6 rows by 6 rows by 6 rows upside down triangle, which stands for power over you. That's what it really translates.
Trump, hire me as a personal trainer.
And
dude,
if you
come
go
on.
to the top of his building, you'll see 7 bumps, 7 hills. So this is the building is actually a spell and it was created in 1983, and his power rose up. His power grew. He became famous. He did his show, and people saw him being respectable and had standards for his employees, and he would fire the bad ones. So he gained trust. And the year of attacks in courtrooms constantly, they created a martyr out of him, and then trying to kill him, getting his ear almost a fatal wound. So they played us real good with him. And
and to your point, Paul,
participated.
I'm sorry, Paul, to your point, as Dr. Shiva has described, the elites positioned Trump to become president with the show, everything you just said. And people should understand that as well. I agree. And then, what was I going to say? Oh, did you know, just real quick on Trump, one of the Rothschild's accountant, and I forget his name, pardon me, everyone. He's just a little dweeb guy, apparently, short guy, whatever. He's in his 70s or 80s. He actually bailed out Trump on at least several $1 billion of one of his failed business dealings. And now he's an accountant for Trump. So obviously he was an intricate role, I would say, in positioning this clown Trump to become president. Because I think he is a clown, in my opinion. I mean, he has some good traits, but he's a master at manipulation, and that's why I believe they hired Trump, and Elon Musk.
Yeah, he was perfect for them. He had because of his success. But you see, the Rothschilds financed him. They saved him when he collapsed, when his casino
Yes.
dropped. They were always there for him. They believed in him. And they gave him the confidence and the bragging rights to that confidence with The Apprentice and all these, So they created a monster. And I think he really believes that he is going to save the world. But he's also listening to the wrong people. Just like
I
in
think
his
so.
first administration. He had all the wrong people. But now he's surrounded by Zionists everywhere. His whole cabinet
Yes.
is all Zionist. It's like the
Yes.
worst possible people to have around you because of their
Yep.
agenda. They have no loyalty to Jews. Believe it or not, Zionist Israel doesn't give a damn about Jewish people. They don't care about
It's all about
Christians.
imperialism.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they are the kings of the world, and that's that. And they want Trump to be the king, and merge Canada, United States, Mexico, and Greenland. That's one of the territories they have marked. I don't know if you've seen the picture, but I've got that picture too.
No, I don't think so.
My research is pretty deep, brother. There's the 10 regions. And you see
I can
Canada,
tell.
United States.
It's awesome.
This red area is Trump's area, where he's going to be king, one of the 10 kings. So it's been planned long ago, and his building was 1983, but it was a spell. It was sorcery, for God's sakes. When he made that building, he was in his prime. He was 83.
Yeah.
He was young and healthy and rich, and so it's going to be hard for people. Just like Tamara Lynch, like most of my friends just love Tamara. They go to her concerts and see them and just love her. She's huggable, and it's so sad because they don't know that part of her history where she was against Trudeau taking so long with the COVID shots and the lockdowns, and she was against that. She wanted to separate. She was a exit, Brexit kind of girl, and people don't know that. And then she just flip-flopped, like Trump was the president of peace, and then he flip-flopped.
Sure.
And it's a sad story, but I was hoping in the year of this show that I would find remedy, that we'd find solutions, we'd find the right people in government to put an end to this. But I think it's just so deeply embedded. They've all got their positions of power. They're in the school boards, the local government, the provincial, and the federal. They're everywhere. Like, they're inescapable. They've planted themselves, and they do that, just as I talked with Kirk, by promoting the bad people.
Yeah. But we can promote good people, Paul. We can promote good people. I think that's one of the solutions. You're one of them, Paul. You're an amazing Canadian patriot. Let's continue, and let's not promote the controlled opposition, because they're just going to sidetrack you. They're going to distract you. In my opinion, the facts back it up. As you alluded to, Tamara Lynch is absolutely controlled opposition. Pat King, Pat King, he's not even a government agent per se, but we know what he is. He's controlled opposition, in my opinion. Tamara Lynch, she's a government agent. She's controlled opposition, in my opinion. You had Chris Sky, one of the leaders of the freedom movement, right? Tattooed to the neck. His father got awards from the Liberal government. I'm sure his father's a nice guy, but come on, folks. And Chris Sky he was used to discredit the freedom movement in Canada, in my opinion. I exposed him thoroughly. And I'm telling you, Paul, just like Kirk's doing, and you're doing it in some ways yourself, when you expose the dirty players and you show the crowd the dirty player, just like in the book I have, Evolution of Cooperation, written by a brilliant economic guy, friends with Catherine Austin Fitz. When you can show the crowd the dirty player, the ethical leader will always win. And 80%, give or take, Paul, of the leadership of grassroots, bottoms-up movements, think the trucker movement, think the protests at our beautiful symbolic Queen's Park, right? Not far from me, in the city next door to me, Quebec, everywhere. 80% of the leadership is, controlled opposition. Because as Vladimir Lenin famously said, and I'm sure you know it, Paul, one of his famous quotes, the best way to lead opposition, the best way to control opposition is lead it ourselves. And
Yep.
and that's why I thank people like Jane Scarf and a few other activists and V. Gandhi, my buddy. They've really laid it out of all the different ways of controlled opposition, how they work, the chaos agents. In my opinion, again, David Menzies, right? The big reporter for Rebel News and some other reporters. He's just a chaos agent, man. He's probably a Mossad agent in his own way. He interviewed me. I got on Rebel News twice, Paul. But one of the interviews didn't get aired, and that happened to be in front of David Menzies. Why? Because I probably brought up the Canadian Bill of Rights, and David Menzies is a chaos agent. And Arthur Pawlowski, the preacher in Alberta, I've thoroughly exposed him with other people. He's a communist sympathizer, in my opinion. Why? Because how do we know? Because he uses the charter all the time. He got in trouble. I interviewed Danny Martin, a trucker.
Yeah.
He would, Paul, he would do all this noise, just acting like an idiot to violate bylaws, right? And then he gets popular, and he went in the oldest grift in history, which is being a preacher, using religion. Him and his brother, they had lawsuits to the gazoo, apparently, doing stuccos on people's homes, and they're sued. So what do? He goes in, and he's not even a real preacher, but he tried to be a freedom leader here in Canada, and he goes to banquets in Mississauga. Boy, he's lucky I haven't gone to a banquet to videotape me confronting him, because he's confused a lot of people. He's not the real deal. He was told about the Canadian Bill of Rights, and instead he used the charter in front of the cops. And that's a big no-no. I could explain later why that's a big no-no. So,
Yeah.
Sorry I got on a rant there.
No, it's good. All good.
Do you know who Arthur Pawlowski is, Paul?
Yes, sir. I do.
Do you know his background? Do you think he's a real, true Canadian patriot? Do you think he's done good for Canada?
I don't really know a lot about him, but I would expect you do. So
I'm sorry I don't have interviews with Danny Martin on my Jason Truth on Arthur Pawlowski. I would love to have that, but anyway, he did a lot of harm, in my opinion, to this freedom movement, Paul. And that's what they're hired to do, right? Talk a little good talk. Oh, yeah, I got this righteous anger against our government. And meanwhile, this guy is trying to make you think that your cops are communists by using the charter. Oh, they're overriding our rights. They're violating my charter of rights and freedoms, right? Sounds good. But what does the charter do, Paul? As I said in my speech, is it has no power. But when you invoke the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, you got to appear before a judge who's appointed by the government, paid by the government, answers to the swamp.
Yeah.
Pierre Elliott Trudeau, who you mentioned earlier, wrote it up with a bunch of lawyers in the UN, we found out. And you just got to look at Section 1. It allows the government to override your rights, technically, because a judge it says they can override your rights on reasonable limits. If he or she thinks they have a good enough reason, we saw that play out during COVID, they can use public opinion. The 7 and 8 churches in Manitoba, I said in Toronto, the judge basically ruled, well, you know what? And said, we know your religious rights and freedoms have been discriminated and violated, but you know what? It's justified because we're in a pandemic, right? That's that loophole, the charter, Section 1. And the TTC, I believe, they used the charter, did a charter challenge, lost. I used to respect her, but I think she did a big boo-boo. She knew better. Christine Nagel, the head of the nurses movement, she used the charter. She was told, use your Canadian Bill of Rights. Here's how you do it. Jane Scarf, I'm sure, communicated with her before all that went down. The lawyer, I get so fired up when I talk about these people. Definitely controlled opposition, in my opinion, was the lawyer. What's his name? Rocco Galante. He sold us out, man. He sold us out. He just, at first you think he's the real deal. No, he's not. He filed, Jane Scarf, the paralegal, will totally expose this guy. Sorry, go ahead, Paul. I know you got a thought.
No, you're right. I was going to agree with you. It's hard.
So one of the solutions, Paul, I'm sorry, go ahead.
These people were given false hope. But I mean, like even 1995, they came out with this Illuminati game, and there's Trump. Enough is enough. So he was the one that to finally end all this baloney. He even has his own card in that game, and it's perfect.
Yeah.
But look what it says though. It says, at any time, at any place, our snipers can drop you. Can you believe that?
Wow. What a crazy message.
Yeah. What the hell? That's 1995.
Oh,
So it's all it's all preordained.
yes.
Even
Preordained,
the
pre-planned.
Simpsons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I don't like being lied to, especially people that
No.
are getting our money to work for us.
Yes.
Doing this. We pay
That's right.
them, and they, we don't have anyone to put these people behind bars where they belong, because the cabal is so strong, and money has so
Yeah.
much power and influence.
Yes.
$1 million is like a world-changing amount of money for any of us.
Yeah.
For one of these people, all they have to do is continue to banter and speak, repeat, and rinse and
Yes.
repeat, and they're good at it. That's why they get the jobs
Yeah.
in the first place. But we're not like that. I'm not like that. I speak the truth, and if that gets me killed, and honestly, I do look over my shoulder. When I go outside of my house, I look. I'm just waiting for when they're going to shut me down forever. And that, I'm not afraid of that, because my faith, I'm not afraid at all, because then it's over for me and I'm going to be free. I'm not going to be gone. I'm going to live
Right.
forever. And I'm not taking
Yes.
my own life. I am risking in my life, and so are you. I mean, the more you know, the more you realize how dangerous these people are and how soulless they are. They really seem soulless because there's no guilt. It's the narcissistic sociopaths that just have
Yes.
they don't care. They don't care about abortions, and even abortions bother me.
Yeah.
But I like block people on Facebook that show like injured animals. I can't take it, because animals are so beautiful. I mean, I'm not saying like all pit bulls are I'd give them a kiss on the nose, because there are
Hey, well,
animals that aren't safe. I wouldn't go give a bear hug to a bear, but I think you know what I mean. Like, I love animals, and to see them suffering
yes.
is just not something I can handle. I can't
That's
handle
right.
7 black people attacking one white person in like Chicago. I don't live in Chicago, but it still
No.
hurts me. It hurts my soul that hate
Yeah.
has been conditioned into the black community. Not in Canada, but in the
Yes.
United States. It's really rampant, and it's absolutely ugly and
Yes.
dirty. And the women are taught that men have to buy everything, pay their bills, pay their rent. They just have a delusional sense of self. There's no,
Well,
I have to
Paul,
become
the
a good
solution,
person.
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Paul, I really
Go ahead.
believe, for what little it's worth, what I know, what I think I'm aware of and know, trying to learn through the likes of Jane Scarf and now you today, Paul, is one of the ways out is really, I think you know this. It's like what Dr. Shiva is trying to do with his leaders. Build more leaders and build a bottoms up, right? Grassroots movement
Yep.
for truth, freedom, and health, as he calls it. He's got, again, Glenn, one of the leaders here in Canada. I want to interview him about the Forest Fires. I'm, again, thankful to be with you today, Paul. I want to be one of the, Paul, I think Dr. Sheep wants me to be one of the leaders. He wants me to take his leadership course. Again, I can't afford to be on his platform right now. It's only 100 American, but I'm hurting. Whatever. I don't want to explain any further than that.
Yep.
But it's about bottoms up. Again, as you said, sort of alluded to it, I think, Paul, earlier, we can't vote for politicians anymore. It just, the corruption, as you said, it's so embedded right now. But at the same time, let's try to work on it. That do not feel demoralized. Don't allow yourself to be in a state of learned helplessness, as Dr. Shiva explains, and learn what that is, right? They experiment on animals, the CIA, Paul, to your point about animals, on learned helplessness, right? How animals worked, and now how it works on people. So
Yes.
we got to work on action plans,
Mhm.
telling the truth at the right time, which we're doing, I think, for the most part, right? Don't delay truth, because delayed truth is deadly. And that's why I respect people like you, Paul, and guys like Dr. Shiva, who was telling the truth all along during COVID at the right time. Don't lock down.
Mhm.
He gave a protocol to Donald Trump, right? Vitamin C, vitamin D. He gave it to Ivanka, who was loving Dr. Shiva, her and her girlfriend, and saying, Trump's not listening to us. He gave a whole protocol, and then Zelensky made money on it. Dr. Shiva was giving out for free. Did Trump listen? And Shiva met him twice. No, he didn't listen. Shiva met him too about a year ago. Most people want to go to Mar-a-Lago, right? As soon as Trump invites you, he invites very few people. Shiva turned him down about 2 or 3 times. And finally his wife said, just go. So he meets Trump, and Trump is like this weak guy, Shiva explained. He gave a weak handshake. He almost felt sorry for him. He said, because he was like all alone. He had the deep state of all deep state as organizer, this woman. She's as deep state as you can get. Susie Weil, I think it is. Anyway, but Trump was like all alone. And Shiva says his kids just use him. So, but Trump is great at manipulating people, in my opinion. And that's why he's been used. So I'm getting all over the place. But, and by the way, Paul, again, the solution here in Canada, we've got the Canadian Bill of Rights. It's almost as powerful and concrete as the U.S. Bill of Rights. Don't let people say, I heard one person recently say, I think on my live, it's got a loophole at the beginning. Well, it's not perfect, but no, I don't know. I'm not aware of any real loophole at the beginning. It certainly doesn't make it invalid. It's amazing, miraculous legislation. And when we get more and more Canadians learning how to use it, which is very easy to do, Paul, understanding it, I'm telling you, there will be a revolution in Canada. I truly believe that. And I don't mean necessarily violence. We decide whether or not, a revolution is going to be violent or not if it requires that. But this is why I say always hard, powerful, peaceful, determined action, Paul. And in India, they wanted a violent revolution. I'm not saying this for Canada. I'm just saying as an example in India. And who did they drop in? Gandhi, right? As Dr. Shiva explains, Gandhi was used so they didn't have a violent revolution to have positive change, right? He was a racist. And to this day, a lot of people still celebrate Gandhi, but there's also a lot of people that realize, no, he was a scumbag. He was an elitist. He wanted your heads bashed in, folks. All about peace, right? So.
Yeah. I'm so happy Candace is here with us. She will be my guest on Sunday to discuss her not wanting to initiate MAID, and she's going to talk about what it actually does. And I've never done this before either on the show. I'm going to show you what I look like before I get ready for the show. It's good to laugh. You have to laugh. You have to smile. That's our medicine. And also the music is in 432 hertz. That's me playing the piano in the background. And
I like it.
Also meant to feel and bring you in harmony with nature. And,
all right.
So it's my faithful weapon. It's my weapon of love.
Cool.
And a weapon of peace that's here.
Weapon of love.
Yeah, it is. Because, they brought in the 440 secretly. Just like they brought in the GMO corns secretly. They didn't want labels. They were, they had no labels, even though we wanted them. So they haven't been represented. We haven't been represented for a long time. I really, really am hopeful, that we will have a non-violent resolution. That's what I hope for. And I think they want us to get
good.
violent.
I hope for it too, Paul. I just want to quickly add, if you have any doubts about what I am saying of the power of that Canadian Bill of Rights legislation, then please understand, you don't hear the governments talking about it hardly ever. You hear them pump up the charter, right? With that Pierre Elliott Trudeau communist. He was a communist sympathizer. He said over and over he wanted a strong centralized government. That's why he created the charter. Okay, we didn't even need the charter. Jane Scarf explains this and articulates it way better than me. But I want every Canadian to know, and again, I hammer it home, but they don't talk about the Canadian Bill of Rights, and there's a reason. There's a reason controlled opposition refused to discuss the Canadian Bill of Rights, especially on a regular basis. Even Derek Sloan, I remember, Paul, I said it, I think, in the interview with Kirk Reese, I noticed he did a speech on the Canadian Bill of Rights. He talked about it briefly, but he did a pretty good job. And then I was being cynical knowing these people, and I thought, I bet he'll never discuss it again, though. in front of a crowd or any time. He never did. Instead, he sent a long email in one of his campaigns, said the charter in it, pumping up the charter, nothing on the Canadian Bill of Rights. He sold out, in my opinion. If I met Derek Sloan, I would say shame on you. But again, it just shows you, folks, there's a big difference with and Alberta has the Alberta Bill of Rights, Paul, which is even better than our Canadian Bill of Rights, in part because there's a lot more history on it. And nobody's using hardly ever the Alberta Bill of Rights. But Jane paid a professional videographer. It's a beautiful video, Paul. I don't know how to get it again. And it talks about and explains this amazing Alberta Bill of Rights, man. You know?
All I can say is I love my faith because, all these names you're giving us, I have stopped myself from following, friending, even Tamara. I'm not friends with her. I don't follow her because God's working really well with me. Like, he really protects me. I really feel protected.
Awesome.
And just like they found a new way to, like the military, to guarantee stealth on their jets by using all the Epstein files. That's a new XF-907 ultra stealth aircraft achieves complete invisibility via exterior coating consisting of the Epstein-Klein list.
It's all lies. All lies. First of all, it's not invisible. I study UFOs, which is the black budget technology. Kirk thought I was meaning aliens. No, the CIA spin it for aliens for 50 years. We have free energy generation propulsion systems.
Yes.
The cover-up's been going on for 80 years. I do videos on this, and we'll do it again, and I'll release it publicly. I'm going to talk about, and have done videos, it's not public yet, on the historical legacy of the gravity research, Paul. It's amazing. In Canada, we have USOs coming out of our oceans. That's why I call it USOs when they come out of the oceans. Stands for unsubmergible object. And, of course, UFOs for unidentified object. And if you don't look at it, you're missing over half the financial picture, folks. So all these financial commentators, what's that?
I love that. I love that you're saying this because this is what I feel is true as well. And so I love hearing it because I know it's true. It's us. It's our technology. They won't allow us to have it.
Yeah.
It's also
we're this close, though, Paul. We're this close to getting access to it to the public. And the reason I say it is now U.S., you saw them, didn't you, with UFO hearings. Now suddenly Congress is interested in UFOs. Why? Because they got to roll out the black budget technology now, Paul. Why? Because we're going to be mining asteroids soon. I think it already started. I have a picture of a UFO in the rings of Saturn, one of the years you mentioned earlier, almost 1986, I think it was, under Reagan. And it literally says, taken by the Hubble telescope in the infrared, so you can't fake it. It literally says one of the gigantic cylindrical objects taken by the Hubble in the rings of Saturn. That's staffed by the Navy. Now, the question is, what are they doing there? Well, if you Google the rings of Saturn, it's 99.8% or whatever water, but there'll be rocky elements. So have they started mining already? Remember, the military's 50 years ahead of us. Sometimes, now Michael Schratt, my buddy, aerospace aircraft historian in the United States, he says, in some respects, Gordon Cooper said they're 100 years ahead, one of the astronauts. So it's fascinating, folks. And we're going to mine the nearest asteroid soon, Paul. And they say publicly, it's not trillions of dollars to be made. It's quadrillions, with the mineral wealth. Now, how do you get there? The challenge is, how do you get there and bring it back? You don't use rockets, baby, like Elon Musk, the government front man, right? $6.8 billion for SpaceX he got. $1.6 billion for regulatory carbon tax credits for Tesla, which shot up Tesla to about $600 billion valuation. So he's behind the carbon tax scam, global climate change bullshit. And the government used rockets as a distraction. So real quick, Paul, we're going to get to that nearest asteroid soon in our lifetime. They're going to bring it back. It'll be sold in the global commodities market. If you play the stock market, Paul, pay attention. And we're going to get the inside information on this amazing wealth, and a lot of the public will have access to it, and they can't cover up this free energy much longer because, again, they got to roll it out now. They'll try to spin it here and there, and we got an African inventor, Chikambusu in Zimbabwe, who's created microsonic energy, electric cars, doesn't need an external power source, unlike Musk, right? It can run indefinitely. Only the parts you'll need to change, and his TVs. And I don't think he's a fraud. It seems like he's the real deal. And why not? He's absorbing radiation all around us and converting it into electrical energy. And that's similar to UFOs in some respects. I think I'm done on that rant, but thanks for listening, Paul.
Yeah, I have I don't know. I have a deeper, different perspective.
Spiritual side on that?
But I don't think I need to say it. I just
Mhm.
I think
Sure.
I value what you say, and I know
Thank
you
you.
believe what you say, and there's honesty in your words. And I fear this future for our children. It
Oh
bothers
my
me.
God.
It bothers me. A stranger in your own town. I don't want that. And it's here. It's coming. And every day I've seen busloads. Like when I ran for the Libertarian Party in 19
Cool.
when was it 2016. I ran against Doug Ford, not in the same district, but when he ran.
All right.
And I have a lot of libertarian values, definitely. Very similar to People's Party. I think I would have changed. I did run for leader, and I did get votes. I got nominated for 5 different executive positions, but I don't like politics. I think I did well because of my morals, I don't think it was
Yeah.
because I was special, but just because of who I am as a person and what I believe and my love for the country, my love for fellow man. So I think I did well. I was voted for that reason, because I was pretty much new into politics, but I would never get into it in this situation. If we had another system like you were talking about, because we can't vote for anybody now. They all voted to let children kill themselves. We have nobody. It's really that simple. So they're either compromised by money or by something they did naughty, or criminally. They've all been compromised. So I'm hoping that people like you and myself will find an avenue to be able to rescue the good people that I know are all around us. Canadians are really great people. They really, really, really,
Yes.
really are. We would never finance or support wars. We wouldn't have nothing to do with these things. So
No.
I hope we are successful. I hope we are able to end these dark things that are happening.
We can. We will. We're winning.
And with love and faith and honesty is important.
Yes.
I'm
Honesty.
not selling anything. I've been financing this show the whole time.
Thank you. But you deserve to have some support. And
Well, I don't think we have a lot of time left.
no, I understand.
I think, with 100 shows, I've really talked it out, with you as well, though. But, every single guest I've had gives us a little bit more, and it's all archived.
Yes.
So, in case something happens to us,
Yes.
at least it'll be archived, so people in the future will be able to look back and see what happened to us. And that's really
Absolutely.
what I feel is so important about this show, is for people to hear what you have to say. They already know
Yes.
what I think. They know what I think. But my guests are also witnesses, that do
Yes.
also care about their fellow man. So I've been very lucky to meet such amazing people like yourself who are trying
Sure.
and risking everything. You really are risking everything. When you publicly speak, you put your face on their, in their sights.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So I admire all of my guests. Like Kim. Kim's here. She's an animal
Great.
healer.
Awesome.
She studies the
Thank you.
frequencies and the 5G. So I'm getting so many, and
Cool.
Candice is a nurse that refused to give MAID when she found out what it does to people. Kirk Reese is here also. He's like almost at every show, and he's like, I think he's on like every 10 shows.
Kirk.
He's a frequent guest, and we've been begging, like, please, somebody. But it shows that the whole system has been compromised, and a lot of it's promotion, retirement, pension. There's a lot of things I can
Yes.
understand. I relate to that, but it really comes down to, is it worth it? Is your country
Right.
worth it, or is it worth just having that money? What about when there's no more money left? If you get a universal basic income of $3,000, everyone's going to be, yay, $3,000, I can live off of that. But all the price of everything's going to go up. So eventually it's just going to be bad again. That will
But
be
how can we
dominant
have,
control.
Paul, excuse me, how can we have universal basic income? I was just thinking, when everybody knows that we have all the wealth in the world in Canada, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, in some ways number one in a few aspects. So how could we succumb to even global financial predators installing
Yeah.
universal basic income when we're not from China, most of us, and we don't want it? I don't think it. I think the good news is it will not happen. There's too much resistance. We're too united on this issue. I hope I'm right. And by the way, Paul, before I forget, when I mentioned the 43 out of 44 police departments, that didn't want the Doug Ford stay-at-home order, and they went against it, not taking our guns, not restricting our mobility rights almost all the time during COVID. There were a few isolated instances where, apparently they tried to, but generally they didn't. I meant to include RCMP. Again, most of the RCMP are awesome people. I may know a couple. Let's just put it that way. They're great people, and they want to do good, and they're hopefully listening to you and I today, Paul. I'm sure many RCMP at times and police have listened to your videos. Maybe you've interviewed a few, and if you have, awesome. If you haven't, that's okay too. Yeah.
I want them to listen.
Cool.
I want to touch their heart and let them see.
Yeah.
I want them to hear the whistleblowers. Because we have all the
Yes.
spying apparatus. They have Palantir and all this. They can basically
Sure.
solve all the crimes. Every murder, every crime. They can shut down the fentanyl gangs,
Yeah.
fentanyl. And they could solve all the problems there. But they don't. Instead, they use it as a weapon instead of something that it could be used for. And really, if we're going to have a spying apparatus, I want it to be us
looking at them.
Yes.
so we can hold
like
them
that.
accountable. I want to read their emails.
I want to read their
I wanna hear what
emails.
they say
I want to
in
hear what
meetings.
they say in
I
meetings.
can hear myself.
I can hear myself now.
Whatever you
Oh,
do.
sorry, Paul. My sister is calling. I'm going to
Yes.
have to say goodbye. She's in Brunswick. Is that okay?
You have 13 minutes before 7, so
Oh.
we did good. I
Oh.
appreciate you coming on the show. I'm starting another show.
I'm very
in, like,
thankful.
an hour. 9 o'clock.
You're very
I'll be
welcome, and
starting
thank
another
you,
show.
Paul.
Thank you.
You're an
brother,
awesome
and,
person. I'm really glad to have met you.
Yeah, same here. And
Oh, thank you.
of course, I wish you all the best. And
You too.
maybe the Truth Table will be back after. Who knows? Who knows? I just follow
Well-
whatever God wants me to do. I'll do, and I won't have
Good.
any fear in that. So thank you for coming on.
Stay
Thank you
strong,
all
and
for-
Jason, stay strong, Paul. Jason Truth is not going anywhere, God willing, and we could do more interviews if you'd be so kind. Because I love your questions, Paul, and I love the way you think, and you're a man of faith, and I think that's amazing. I am too in my own way as well. And you're trying to help Canada, and you've done a great job, Paul. I appreciate the time and the opportunity today with you. There's my channel.
you so
Thanks, man.
much. Yeah,
Thanks for
you sound
promoting my
like it.
small YouTube channel. Hopefully it'll grow.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I've watched some of yours. I've already watched some. I'm gonna watch more too. I like
Oh,
to
great. Thanks.
research my guests and yeah, I'm proud of you. You put your face.
Thank
on
you.
there
I'm proud of
and,
you too, buddy.
So I look forward to seeing
Appreciate
you
it.
again. I wish you all the best. Keep in touch on Facebook. Thank you all at home for coming and sharing and commenting. And Candace, I look forward to our show on Sunday. And in a few hours, I'm going to have the 100th show celebration, which I really can't even believe that we're there. But we're there, and God bless you all. I'm Paul Everton, host here at the truth table.
Having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.